Okay, welcome back to the video series How to Write a Musical. We've been working on Robot Pigs, the musical. We are nearly done. You've got your sheet music back. You're really happy with the final product. If you are working with sheet music, you want to go ahead and just make sure this looks nice and format it properly. This is sometimes called engraving, so you can research music engraving. There's some great Facebook groups with a lot of information. Basically, there's no right or wrong when it comes to formatting it. Just choose what you're going to do, and I would say stick to it. So like with so many things we've talked about, choose your software and stick to it, build upon your knowledge. Choose how you're going to engrave your sheet music and just stick to it. So if you're going to have your title at the top of your sheet music in size 24, for the next song, have your title in size 24. It's just really simple stuff like that to make everything look nice and neat, and to make sure that any musicians who are playing your music can just follow along and everything's as neat as it possibly can be. Another great way to learn from this is to actually give your music to somebody to play, a friend, whatever it is, and they can tell you what would make it easier for them. So for example, I arranged some stuff for a band to play, and I was really new to it, and they played it, and this one guy said, oh, when I've got like 20 bars of rest in a row, it's really helpful if you put a double bar line to between the different sections. So for example, between a verse and a chorus, just so I can know, oh, I'm there in the music. So, I was like, oh, of course, that's something I wouldn't have even thought of, but from a musician's point of view, it makes so much sense. So when I've got a big section change between a verse and a chorus, or a bridge and a whatever, I put a double bar line just so that it's a little bit neater. All of those teeny tiny things can really add up to a musician's experience of playing the music. If you've just created backing tracks and that's how you intend your musical to be done, just through backing tracks, and you don't actually need any sheet music, amazing, you are super ready to go. What you want to create is high quality demos that are going to be able to be used to submit your musical for opportunities, to show to producers, and just to generally give people an understanding, an idea of how your musical is going to sound. It's easy to give somebody sheet music, a piece of paper, and be like, this is what it is, but again, if they don't play piano, or if they're not a singer, or if they don't have access to those things, they're not going to be able to know. And I think good quality demos are a really important part of my process, and an important part of taking your work from existing to, getting on stage and getting it realized. So if you're a singer, amazing, super easy. You want to go back to your digital audio workstation. So for me, Reaper, you want to drag in your backing track, whether that's something that you've created using a digital audio workstation, or if it's something that you've created using your notation software to export your audio of your accompaniment. If you have an actual recording of somebody playing your accompaniment, even better. You just want to drag that in as your backing track that you're using, and then use a microphone. It doesn't have to be a super good quality microphone, as long as it's like decent and it's not picking up a load of background noise and it's not peaking or like popping the gain, you're pretty good to go. So you just want to record you singing the main part, and then for any harmonies, you just go back, add another layer, record. Make sure it all sort of blends okay. And again, this comes back to when we did the creating the harmony for the melody and creating those chords in the first place. I said just make sure it's in a key that's suitable for you at this stage. And still, this is super relevant, because when you're creating those composer demos, you want to be able to do it in a key that's suitable for you. If you've got a song that's for like super high soprano, and you've got to go and record that demo, and you're not a super high soprano, and you're going, it's not going to give whoever's listening to it a very good idea of what that's actually going to sound like, or what you intend for that to sound like. So I usually keep it in a key that's pretty comfy for me. If I need to change it to a different key that's comfy for me for the demos, I will do that. And It generally works pretty well. If you want to add in any sound effects, you can, or any effects in general, you can. But that's pretty much what I do. Now, if you're not a singer, or you do really want to show whoever's listening that soprano sound or something that you had intended to be there that you cannot replicate on your own, you can work with other musicians, singers, friends in order to create these demo tracks, okay? So if you know a bunch of singers, you could say, hey, everybody, come over to my house. We're going to have a pizza night and record a bunch of demos, and they might be happy to do that. If you don't know people, or you don't feel comfortable asking them to do that for pizza, I mean, you know, like, we're all just trying to survive and, like, you know, make money, and just, it's crazy. You know, you could offer to pay them $100, or you could hold a fundraiser, then actually pay people for reals. You know, if you don't have friends who can do that for you, and pay them for reals and actually create, you know, a demo album. Now, for a demo album, I personally would say you do not need to have every single song on your demo album. If you've got a 3-hour mega show and it's got 30 songs in it, maybe pick 10 best songs from across the show that showcase the different parts and the best bits almost. You don't need to always show every single song. You can, and especially for a shorter show, it's often a good idea, but you don't always need to. Even just 1 or 2 demos can go a really, really long way to adding towards those assets and showing producers just a snippet of what you intend to create. So even if you just have 1 or 2 songs, you can submit that to a producer along with your script, along with your sheet music for the other songs. You could have digital versions of those other songs with the Sibelius sounds, or the notation software sounds as the melody, so not actually somebody singing it, but just as it playing on the computer, like it sounds a bit shit, but it can give them an idea of what you intend. And if you just have 1 or 2 real demos, it can be really, really helpful. So once you've got all that together, you're pretty much ready to start putting your show out there. You are going to have a great idea, which we covered in step 1. You are going to have a script, which we did in step 2. You're going to have some banging lyrics, which we also did in step 2. And throughout all these other steps, you're going to be going back and editing that script, editing those lyrics, getting it really, really tight. But you can't go back and edit a script if you've got no script in the first place. So step 2 is super important, to just get something down. Because once something's down, you are going to be able to go back and edit it as much as you like. But you can't edit nothing, okay? So in step 3, we talked about taking those lyrics and that melody that we made up and adding harmony to it, which is creating the other components. We've got melody, harmony. When they go together, you've got a song. In step 4, we put that into a notation software, just really, really simply, as much as we could do, but as long as all of the melody was there in the correct rhythm with the correct notes, and as long as the harmony was there, even just as basic semi-breves, super simple triads, just stack those notes. And in the next step, we talked about working with an arranger or using other programs to create either a backing track or sheet music that can then be played by a musician, and getting it to a place where you are really satisfied with the final product of the music. And in this step, we have talked about creating a demo album to then show producers and give them an idea of what your musical is and what your musical's about. So if you have done all of those smaller steps, you have written a musical. Well done. It could be a 10-15 minute musical like Robot Pigs the Musical. It could be a 3-hour epic, as I say. When I'm working, I just work through these steps. And if I get stuck on something, just break it down to that small step. If you don't know how to do something, just research that tiny thing that you don't know how to do. And all of those little things together is writing a musical, and it takes so much time, it takes so much work, but the difference between people who end up writing it and the people who don't are the people who are willing to put in that time and put in that work. It's not about talent, it's not about special skills. I mean, I'm sure it probably helps, but as you can all see from these videos, I am really not that great of a musician. I cannot play the piano. I really don't know that much about music theory when it comes down to it, but I can still write a musical because I'm willing to put in that time and I'm willing to put in that work. I'm willing to work through all of those little steps until I've got a show. I've got all of those files in my little folder on my computer, and then I can then put on that show and realize the vision of the initial idea, okay? So if you followed along this song, you probably want to hear what Robot Pigs is starting to sound like. If you were watching all the way back in those first couple of videos, I have really rushed through the complete rest of the videos because I just want to get Robot Pigs done off my chest. I started it, I had to finish it, so I just feel like I had to just really briefly talk you through those last steps in case it's helpful to anyone. So in the next videos, I'm going to be showing you my composer demos for Robot Pigs the Musical. It will give you a really good idea of what it sounds like, and what I might do as well, I'll try and create videos that follow along with the sheet music as well. So you're going to be able to see the sheet music, listen to the composer demos, and get an idea of those final stage assets, what they should look like, what they should sound like. And, you know, hopefully Robot Pigs has a life beyond that, but if it doesn't, I'm pretty happy with what I've created just from some silly little project that I started a few years ago on how to write a musical. So thanks for watching, and see you later.